Hi everyone, my name is Angela Harris, and this is my first speech for English 132 this semester, and it is on The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. So for this speech, we're supposed to discuss the way that Gaiman uses fear in Ocean, and how we experience this fear as a reader. Well, for me, the fear that the narrator felt as a child during this story, it really brought up a lot of crap from my past. I can relate to this kid in a lot of ways. Although I didn't submerge myself in books or fantasy stories, I did have an imaginary friend. Now, I'm not saying that Letty is imaginary in the story, but she did make him feel safe. Well, now that I say that, could she have been imaginary the whole time? Interesting thought. Anyways, so he has a lot of normal childhood fears that I can see in this story, like the fear of not being liked, being afraid of the dark, and so on. So let's first talk about his fear of not being liked or accepted. So, okay, in the beginning of the story, he has his 7th birthday party where no one came. His mom, as we read, his mom did her best that she could to make it one of the best birthday parties that a 7-year-old could have, but still nobody came. Here's a quote from page 9. I was sad that nobody had come to my party, but happy that I had a Batman figure and there was a birthday present waiting to be read. A boxed set of the Narnia books, which I took upstairs. I lay on the bed and lost myself in the stories. I like that. Books were safer than other people anyway. So, in reading this, I get the sense that the little boy has been affected by either having his feelings hurt or being disappointed long before this party had ever been planned. He uses his books as a way of dealing with the fear of rejection. Another one of his more common fears that I saw in the book was the fear of the dark. He talks about being afraid of the dark, and when he had his own room before his parents were forced to rent out his room to lodgers, he says on page 13, "In my bedroom, nobody minded if I kept the hall door half open. Although, alas, sugar pie honey bunch, I said I was going to do this in one take, so here we go. In my bedroom, nobody minded if I kept the hall door half open, allowing in enough light that I was not scared of the dark, and just as important, allowing me to read secretly after my bedtime, using the dim hallway light to read by, if I needed to. I always needed to." Okay, so again, obviously we see that the boy finds safety in his books. It's a place that helps him feel safe, a place where he's no longer afraid. That is until he finds a friend in Letty. And we see him spending a tremendous amount of time at her farm because it's safe. When he's there, he's not in fear. Now, here's where we get a little deeper into the monster or horror aspect of the story. When it comes to the monster aspect of the story, like I mentioned in my discussion post last week, could the boy be connecting Ursula to being a monster because he knew that she was breaking up his home life by having an affair with his father? Who knows? I mean, I think it's a possibility. So again, like I said last week and earlier, this story brought up a lot of emotions for me because of my parents' divorce and the men and women that both of my parents brought into my life that they dated, who really wanted to take it upon themselves to be a parent to me. That was really weird. So as young children, we're used to seeing our family as what it is, a complete family unit, whatever that may be. So if something happens to change the dynamics of that unit when we're just not sure of what to think. So what's comforting to us, or the safe place, it just kind of takes over in a way to make us feel better. Letty and the farm was that place for him, and we see that later in the book on page 173 when the narrator is back at the farm as an adult talking to old Mrs. Hempstock. "You come back sometimes," she said. "You were here once when you were 24. I remember. You had 2 young children and you were so scared. You came here before you left this part of the world. You were, what, in your 30s then? I fed you a good meal in the kitchen, and you told me about your dreams and the art you were making. So, in reading this, I wonder, could he have gone back to this safe place when he had young children because he was afraid that he wouldn't be a good parent? Possibly. Okay, so another type of fear that I saw was fear of obedience. So we're taught from day one to listen to our parents. They are, in fact, our first contact with an authority figures, right? So later on, we pick up on the fact that adults are older and we should listen to what they say. Like I was always told as a child, listen to your elders. And if we don't, then the repercussions of not doing so was punishment, no matter the type of punishment. As children, deep down, we don't want to disappoint our parents or go against what they say. And this kind of ties into the fear of the unknown in this story, I think. The boy didn't know why his father was spending quality time with Ursula, so that defense mechanism kind of kicks in and he sees her as a monster. So we're all afraid of the unknown. That's why most of us wrote, what was it, I think in week 3, when we were asked about what we think about death and why it's our biggest fear as humans. Almost all of us said it was because of the unknown. That's where myths come into play and the whole heaven thing. We need something to believe in. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking that Letty might not have actually died in the story, and her mother and grandmother are letting the boy believe this because they felt that that's what he needed in order to lessen his fear, interesting, of her death being his fault. I don't know. Interesting. Well, I want to add that to my paper. So now I really need to go. Thank you for listening. Like I said, I was going to do it in one take, and sorry. Bye.